How far are you willing to go? The drive, the sweat, the blood, the tears, your determination through the pain and all the suffering, people overlooking you, telling you that you're not good enough. You have to believe that you're great. And with you believing that you're great, anything you want to do, you can achieve. No one can stop you. Only you can stop yourself. Keep driving. Keep uplifting yourself. Keep going. Keep going. Nothing, and no one can stop you. That goal you want, you can achieve it. How you inspire people is going to be up to you. Keep going. Never give up. Never give.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Ikon. Yee! And once again, we here on 95, 91, 910 Sports TV. See how I'm meshing it all together? We do too much. So we're meshing it all together. We're here on 910 Sports TV. And first and foremost, I want to thank God for this opportunity. Because without him, there would be no us to be on this platform to have great guests and great people. Next, I want to introduce my right-hand man. You know what I'm saying? They call him your baby mama favorite host. They also call him, the Dallas Cowboys' biggest fan. I got my man Jacob the Great in the building. What's going on, fam?
Hey man, glad to be in the land of the living, man. Another day to get it right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So go ahead and introduce this young man that has a remarkable story. I read his bio, so I'm super excited to get into this interview. So go ahead and introduce this what they call it, what the young people call him. They call it the triple OG. So let's go introduce this triple OG right
Hey
quick.
man, we have Coach Johnson, man. Man, remarkable coach, mentor. A leader. Just a remarkable individual. Just all around the globe, man. He's mentored so many young minds into be, great people and productive citizens of society. What's going on, Coach Johnson? How you doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing
Glad
well.
to be on the
Doing.
show, man.
Yes, sir. Yes. So, Coach Johnson, before we get into your story, and when people ask who is Coach Johnson, what type of answer is that?
Man, I'm just a little country boy from Charleston who grew up on the projects. That's that's about it. Nothing special. Just try to follow all the rules. Set goals, achieve them, and just kept working day by day. I tell people you may be smarter than me, but you're not going to outwork me.
Yes,
That's
yes, yes, yes. You
that's the
know,
motto I'm gonna
there's
use.
always there's always been a saying that hard work beats talent any day.
That's right, and it really does. And that's what I preach to our kids every day. You may not have all the fancy things and all this other stuff, but you work hard, and everything will work its way out somehow.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, Coach, man, you got a long resume, and it's so remarkable and so phenomenal. Um,
Hell, I'm 76 years old. Been around for a couple of years.
right. So, what inspired you to get into the coaching?
Um, I don't know. It didn't. I wanted to be an NFL football player, and I did that for 2 years, and I wanted to stay in touch with the game, and I was around a lot of the great coaches. I got drafted by Green Bay back in the day, and what's it? Dan Devine was the coach, and I just started leaning towards that. Looking, I said, man, this may not be a bad idea right here. And then, but it went back to my college coach, Dwight Fisher, and how he operated and what he did, and I just watched those men how they took individuals situations and make it right. And then I went to Minnesota, and Bud Grant was the coach then, And I think I did more observing of Bud Grant, than anything else, because each one of those situations I pulled from in my career. And then when I was at Bishop College in Dallas, I got a chance to be close to Coach Landry because of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes thing, and the gems I got from him because we used to do meetings together. So I think after I got through with the playing career, that was the next, that was the most obvious thing to do to become a coach.
Okay. So tell us about your very first coaching job.
Oh gosh, talking about head job.
Just a overall coach, whether it's offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, that when you
Well,
first started coaching.
Yeah, I started down at Burke where I was an assistant coach, and and I had my spiral notebook and had all the plays down. That's how much I didn't know about coaching.
Right.
And I thought it was a bunch of plays and everything, and fortunately, I got an opportunity to be the football coach at C.A. Johnson in Columbia, and they hadn't won a ball game in about 2 or 3 years, and so we turned that program around and left there and went to Dallas back to my college at Bishop College, where I was the offensive coordinator at the college, and stayed there, and then coached in Dallas for a long time, and then came back home to Charleston at Burke, and tried to get it done then, but too many things going on at that time, and couldn't get it the way I wanted to, and then went up to Woodland and still couldn't get it right. I'm a different kind of cat. I'm disciplinarian, and not in the negative way, but you do what you do, when nobody's looking at you, because that's what wins games. That's what wins championships. And a lot of those cases, the Woodland thing, I think I was the first black coach, and that's a different thing there, because they have been coached by the white guys, and I'm a different kind of cat, there's a reason why you haven't been winning, and let me tell you why. I was right in their face, and went to a few other places. Then I ended up at Scotch Branch, where again they had won a ball game in ages, and we got that going and turned that around with the success. And I had grown up a little bit as a head coach, and I realized some things had to change. That comes with experience. So Scotch Branch, I guess that's what we are known for. But after that, I went to Marion, and it's a similar situation where they were losing, and we got that program going again. So it's let me put it like this: you'll never see my name in the most wins in the sports of history, because I always took those programs and that weren't winning, and it takes time to build a culture of winning. So you take your lumps along the way. So, but eventually we get there. People leave you alone.
Yes, sir. Ikon, over to you.
See, this is the thing. We from the South. So me and Jacob done learn how to respect our elders. So we're gonna have to give your flowers, because you done glossed over twice. You done glossed over your own career. Twice you done been too humble. So I'm gonna go ahead and let the people know why you shouldn't be so humble. First of all, you went over a program that was 0-31. And you took that 0-31 team and led them to the playoffs. What was it, 6 times? If I'm correct?
Yeah,
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at your bio, and you like the Joe Clark of the South. You go to these schools and turn everything around. Education, you turn around the sports program. So That's what when you say we turned around. So we're gonna have to get in depth, coach, to figure out how did you turn a 0-31 program around and then and take them to the playoffs. So just give us a little bit intricacy of how that happens. What do you have to implement to make that happen?
Well, when I first walk on any campus, you know that I'm the that I knew the new coach. The first thing that you got, I believe that the first thing you got to fix is the educational part before you even start thinking about football. You know, at that particular Scotch Branch, I mean, the academics wasn't that strong. You know, we had great athletes there, but they weren't going to nobody's school, number one. And the reason they weren't going to anybody's school, I'm talking about after they graduate, and the reason that wasn't happening because the academics wasn't happening because it wasn't demanded of them. And the first thing I think you need to fix is the academics. You're going to go to these people's class. I always use the term, I can always take the candy away. You know, we can do this thing without you. You know, we don't need you. And I believe that, you know, I tell them all the time, I can take chicken turd and turn it into chicken salad, you know, and I preach that every day and meant it. You know, because a lot of people say things, but they let the kids, well, you know, we got to, you know, he come from this kind of situation. He come from this kind of situation. Hell, I grew up in the project with 5 people with 5 brothers and sisters in a 2-bedroom house, or an apartment, whatever you want to call that. So don't tell me your sob story. You know, let's get ahead and see how we can make this right. And the second thing we dealt with was the behavior in the classroom. You know, you're gonna sit up front, and if a teacher had carte blanche to me, anytime you screw up, if you breathe hard, they text me or send me an email or whatever, and I walk out of my class and go deal with that right then. And they realize, and we tell them if one screw up, all you screw up. So now what I'm doing is giving them responsibility to look after each other. You are your brother's keeper. I'm not going to be running around. You are going to deal with this because you're in the same class. And we had a mechanism that we use. It's called the Burma Road. And I think it took about 4 Burma Roads for them to realize that this man ain't playing. And it was a painful situation. So we dealt with the classroom. Now once we get that correct, because if you conquer the classroom, you don't give any problems in the building, the football stuff becomes easy. Because now we get that discipline in, you know, that discipline doing the right thing. Now we had to find a system that allowed them to be successful. And I'm not talking about coach being successful. I'm talking about the kids being successful, because I think today a lot of coaches, they do things that they say on TV and they bring it to their, you know, guy don't have a quarterback who can throw those balls and don't have receivers who can do those things, but yet they still try to force that system because it's the thing of the day. And what we wanted to do was find a simple system that didn't take up too much of their time as far as studying, too much of their time as far as getting prepared for academics. And what we did was bring in this simple system that then caused them to think, but just react. And that's where the hammer philosophy came in. And I said that it's a philosophy, it was nothing but a pop want to play. But our guys worked at it and perfected their thing. That by that second or third year, we were rolling from that, and combined with all the academics and everything that we did, it was a thing of confidence. It was a thing of I can do this thing. I'm successful now, and success breeds success. And there's nothing else that does that. You know, you can go through the knocking. the bad stuff, but the only thing that breeds success is success. And we just started doing those things, and that's the results we got.
So real quick before I get back to Jacob, I seen another one in your bio where you talked about going from a school that only had one scholarship in like 15 years to college to 25 or whatever. So what do you think when you went to that school? Was it based on them not holding the kids accountable, or was it the parents, or was it the kids not? So what happened where y'all were able to turn the corner to be able to help those kids get those scholarships when they wasn't even having any kind of success rate at all in 15 years?
You stress the classroom, and
Okay.
could not screw up in the classroom. That was a non. You screw up in the classroom, you're gonna miss some time on the field. It was just that simple. We didn't. Well, if you do this and if you be a good boy over here, it was cold blooded. It was right down the middle. These were the expectation. If you didn't meet those expectations, then you pay a price. And that's what they had to learn in life. There are consequences for your actions. And that's what we did. And it got to a point where as I never had to deal with the discipline. I think after that first year, we never had to deal with that discipline part because they would take it upon themselves to correct themselves because they know one screw up, all screw up. And that's how we got it in.
Okay. Go ahead, Jacob.
Well, coach, that's remarkable, man. The mentorship, the leadership, and the discipline, man. That's something that I think that sets a standard, sets a precedent for young athletes, not to be just athletes, but be scholars in the classroom, and you're teaching them how to be productive citizens of society.
Mhm.
And so, with that being said, coach, um, tell us about your. I had a coach to tell me that was like these athletes say it's too hot outside to practice. Because I know in the summertime we practice 2 times a day
Mhm.
in the heat. And so do you think that the kids just don't have tough skin anymore, or do you think that they're not trained properly? Because when I was growing up, my daddy told me man was made for heat was made for man.
Mhm. Well, there's a big difference, and I think we have to handle this delicately because and through time things change. When I first got there, we practiced 4 times a day. And that was during the preseason because we go to camp, and then we practice those 4 times a day. But you had to use a lot of common sense there too. You don't go out there and then have full practice in the middle of the day when the sun is beaming down your head. That's number
Right.
one. Number two is that you have plenty of water. Back in the day, we can drink water until practice was over, but you keep them hydrated and at all times. And number three, you don't listen to their complaints. And we had a trainer there who would monitor. He gave me enough room to Okay, there we go. You don't let the kids you don't let the tail wag the dog. Can y'all still hear me? Mm-mm.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. You don't let the kids, the tail wag the dog. You have to be in complete control of the program. You don't listen to unless it's something pertaining to the football, or they have a suggestion about something, which we have those times. you don't listen to all that nonsense. You know, we came here to work. We came here to build a program. Do you want to be a part of it or not? And it was by God's grace that nothing happened, you know, seriously with those kids. And I realized how, you know, how hard it was, but you had to use a lot of common sense. And when you have a program which the expectations are outlined, you don't have those kids doing those kind of things that you know pretend to that question. You know, you had a choice: adapt or lead. And if you don't, you know, and it was just that simple. We didn't have time to sugarcoat it and everything, because we had a job to do, and we had to get this thing going, and and get them to where they need to be men. And the last thing I think one of the things that I forgot to mention, that we made the kids accountable to the community. We did a lot of stuff in the community, you know, not big stuff, you know, just some simple, you know, we would go, a guy call and say he need the players here to help. We would jump on that bus and we going to help. You see what I'm saying? Because we wanted to build up our community image at all times. Okay. So I think all of that coming together is what forced us, well, what caused us to be successful during that time. And notice I haven't talked about it, football yet, because I think you need to put those things in place before you start thinking about success on the field.
Okay. And so, coach, another thing, what was the importance of the parents in coach relationship to you?
Well, the parents are always your best ally when you get them, when you show success that the kids are changing. When mama see them grades going up, they become your ally. When mama sees success where the kids are starting to act a little different and be a little bit more responsible, that's when parents get involved in everything. Parents want that, but you got, in that town, we had most of the parents at that particular time, they were traveling outside the city to go to work. So the kids had no guidance except for what they get on that field or on that basketball field, whatever. So it was us who had to give them guidance and everything. So once the parents saw that we cared about their kids instead of a game, then they started coming on. Then they started coming on board. It didn't happen overnight because there's a trust factor. Here's another one coming in. Here's somebody else coming in. So you got to build that trust, and you got to communicate with them. You know, we didn't have those big meetings, but a lot of times we had to take those kids home after practice. And if I had a couple of kids with me that you know, all right, let's go. I make sure I stay and talk to the mama or talk to the daddy, just to get to know them on that personal base. So it took time, and with all those three things working together, that's where the success came in.
Right. And so, coach, so we gonna cover the mentorship and the leadership in the aspect of discipline to prepare them for the field. So, are you a defensive minded coach or a offensive minded coach?
I had to be all of it. But you and I say this to say that in order for any coach to become a master of it all, you had to learn, and I'll answer that question to you in a minute. You had to learn the ins and out of the defense, no matter what defense you had. So I studied defense just as hard as I studied offense. And to answer your question, I'm offensive minded, and believe it or not, I'm a back in the day, the things that these guys are doing now with the spreads and all that stuff, we were doing back then in high school in Dallas, no different. And so in order to do that, you had to figure out what each side was doing, because if you're on the defensive side now, study the offense. And I employed our coaches to do that also. But I was an offensive kind of guy, come off the bus throwing the ball, and and I made the famous statement when I was down at Burke in Charleston, and a statement I regret. We coming off the bus throwing the ball, cocky guy coming back home and everything. And the coach from Johns Island, I forgot his name. I can't think of his name right now, but he's a Hall of Fame coach at Johns Island. He in a jamboree or sports around, whatever to call it, he beat the tar out of us, and we could not do anything. And in humility, you learn lessons. So and you learn more about your kids, and you say, "Wait a minute, was that me wanting to do that, or was I putting those kids in a position to succeed?" And everything fell on me. So I said we had to change some things. We couldn't do what I had done in Texas. We got to change a little bit because we didn't have those kind of athletes.
Okay. So now speaking of Texas, and that whole Dallas area is crazy. When they talk about Friday Night Lights, it's crazy. The whole city shut down because I remember me living in Carrollton, Texas, for a little bit. Like when it comes to high school football, Icon, it looked like a ghost town, bro. Like ain't nobody
Yeah,
going to no stores, ain't nobody getting no gas, ain't nobody going to get no burger. Like everybody at the football game, everybody,
And
man. And so
that's the one thing that we're missing here with the smaller schools. The bigger schools kind of take care of themselves, but in the smaller schools where you go and you got hardly anybody at the games. That's sad. That's the one thing that you can. Everybody's talking about the kids today, but if those kids look up in the stands and see a bunch of people in them stands, their behavior is going to change in the community, in the school, because they know people got their back. And what you're saying is absolutely right. When I was coaching out there, we would go to I give you a specific position, John Tyler High School. That I was at Skyline there, and we went up there to play John Tyler. 25,000 people sitting in the stands, and I looked around and I said, "Dang, never seen that on a high school level." So the support that the community has to get better because these are your babies. I mean, I used to admonish them all the time. You can spend $50, $60 on a hairdo and $35 on a nail, and you can't spend $7 to go see your baby play and your cousins play. Something is wrong with that, the way we look at this thing. And you got to be able to support them in the downtime as well as in the good times. Because
that's right.
once they see, that's when you start building the program. That's when you start building community awareness. That's when everybody starts buying into what you are doing.
Right. So since we on offensive, and I'm giving back to you, I have to ask Coach this question: what are your top 5 offensive formations?
Yeah, we only had one.
Yeah, that's funny.
Let me say this: as I ended my career, there was only one formation with a little modification. That was the double wing. That was the most successful to me.
Okay.
Now we do different things out of that. We shift people around and move them around, but there was only one play that we ran, which was the hammer. We ran the hammer 95% of the time. And it's not in the formations or the plays, but it's in the execution
Yes,
of
sir.
the play. And our kids knew that offense like the back of their hand. They knew the form, and by them learning the basics of the offense formations, we were able to do one thing, because I don't teach plays, I don't teach playbook, I teach concepts. Here's the concept. Here's why we run this play. Here's why if you run this play, you will need no other play. And they proved it. Everybody in the state knew what we were going to run, but no matter what, because of the execution, because that we spent all day practicing that same play, everything that they could throw up against you. We even put 13 people on defense to stop that one play. And then nobody could stop it because the rules were solid. And the only way that you could stop it is if you had better athletes than us. And sometimes that didn't even work. It's a punishing offense. It's a hurtful offense for the other team, and they didn't like it at all. So you asked, of course, my favorite formation, 5 formation, whatever. We just had the one formation, and we had some modification, and we only did the modification to make people move out of position, because there has to be a reason why you have different formation, and we use different sets of the formation to put us in a better position for the play to be successful.
Okay. I'll turn back to you, man.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. So what you saying, Coach, is basically by you simplifying things, what made it easier for your kids to understand what to do. So they just took that one thing that you took and just mastered it, versus having where coaches have 5 or 6 different formations, and then you're confusing your offense, you're confusing on the defensive end or whatever, and then now you gotta every day in practice you have to go over each one to try to figure out what's best. So what you said was, okay, I'm just gonna take this one thing, and y'all gonna master this one thing, kind of like the triangle offense.
Exactly. That was it. And we use that on both sides of the ball, because on the defensive side of the ball, we use the 46 defense. Now, with a twist, I always say the Chicago Bear defense, but with a twist in high school, and we just had simple rules. We didn't teach all this swim and all, when we get to it, but they had to understand the concept. The tackle knows, and the other tackle, their responsibility is to get double team. They weren't responsible for stopping it. Just get double team. If you are not double teamed, then you're making the play. It's just that simple. Just that simple. If you're not being double teamed because of the alignments that we have them in, then you're making a play. And we practice that every freaking day, because our drills revolved around that concept. We didn't do a lot of drills and all this and everything. To make that thing even better, our linebackers didn't have any pass responsibility. None. Their job was to stop the run. In high school, the run is the thing. If you stop the run, then you all that. Well, then, coach, how do you make? I mean, all this. How do you make all that work? Because who covers the hook zone and all that stuff? Well, we played man-to-man defense, and that's old school man-to-man, where we play bump and run. And guess what the defensive back practice? All practice. Bump and run techniques. Guess what the linemen practice all day? If I'm not getting double team, I'm making a play. I'm pursuing behind the ball. Guess what the linebackers practice every day? Flow the ball. If the ball goes to my left, then I got a certain position I got to be in to make that play. So you practice that day in and day out. Now you're building up continuity, you're building up confidence, and no matter what happens in a game, it doesn't phase you because you're already there. We force the offense to do other things instead of letting the offense do the thing. We're going to stop whatever you do. I don't know if some of you remember the team Chesterfield. What's the coach name down there that the football quarterback for Carolina back in the day? I can't remember his from Chesterfield High School. That's when Chesterfield was winning all those state championships. they had to spread offense, and they were killing everybody with it. And so they put us on the schedule. They wanted to play. Well, the first thing I said, well, they're pretty. You got to acknowledge people. They were pretty good at it. But what we had to do, we had to take away their game from them. So what we did is that we're going to put pressure on them, lock up the receivers, man to man. And the basic rule of man to man, we take the middle away. And that's what our kids did all night, and we beat them. Whereas offense, and we knew they couldn't handle the hammer, and we ran the hammer down ball control. And I think we scored about 35 points. People think that offense doesn't score a lot of points, but I think we average about 30, 32 points a game.
Yeah, I mean ball control and clock control.
Exactly. We love long drives. I mean, we wanted the ball first because we wanted to extend. A lot of people play cute and everything, coin flip, or I'd take the ball in the second half. No, we wanted the ball. If we wanted to toss, and some coach, they wanted to toss, and they stupidly give me the ball first. Our goal was to take 7 to 8 minutes off the clock and score. And that's more demoralizing than anybody because we were running the same play, right, left,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then you only got like 3 minutes left to go in the quarter.
Exactly.
Quarter almost over. You're already up 7-0.
And what's more demoralizing is that when the defense come on the field attacking, we didn't sit back and wait. Then we forced them into a 3 and out, and we get the ball again, and we repeat the same process.
Yeah. So what type of players do you, besides the educational part, what type of players do you look for your system?
Players?
Yeah, like do you look for bigger players, smaller, fast? Do you look for? I mean, what's if you say the perfect player? I know it's not saying as a perfect team or perfect game, but if in your mind, if you had to dream, okay, it's my quarterback, my running back like this, my linebacker like this, what would be your perfect athlete when it comes to the overall thought process?
Well, I'll give you a real team that we did have. How's that? If we heard that, but I'll come back and fix that at the end. Our center was how much did DeAndre weigh? Our center was 350, 360, somewhere in there. That was our center. Our two guards were 285, 285. Our tackles were 235, 240, something like that. Our ends, little skinny guys, and then we had a fullback who was a linebacker on defense because a lot of guys had to play both ways. And then we had the wingbacks who were just little kids, and we had the quarterbacks who couldn't throw the ball. So we turn them into blockers into each play. So that would be the ideal team. I believe in good offensive play. The offensive line is the most important people on the field because they what makes things happen. And I let it be known every day. You have to, because if the offensive line is not clicking, nothing else is clicking. Now, to answer your question, we didn't have the option to pick the players. We had to work with what we had. Now, what we did do is that we had a weight program going on, and everybody lift weights every day during practice. After practice, before practice. I'm sorry. And if they were missed, then if they missed, they had something doing like a study hall or whatever, then they would lift practice. They would lift weights after practice, and I think that was the most important thing when it came to our system because we were stronger than everybody and we were in better condition than everybody because we were running all through practice. And that's what made us good. I would just say good.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jacob. We got a question.
Yeah, coach. So you from that Charleston area. I remember a fella in Charleston that went to Somerville High School by the name of AJ Brown. And I tell people, because I'm from the state of South Carolina, so I tell people the whole state of South Carolina, when people used to talk about Randy Moss, we
Mm.
we would say we seen Randy Moss in high school, not
Talking
the
about
actual name. Yeah,
AJ
AJ
Green.
Green.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
AJ Green. And
Mhm.
and so it's been a lot of winning coaches down in that Charleston area, and the coach for Somerville won a lot of games. Did you guys ever get to play against Somerville?
I'm glad you brought that up. We were a small school. We barely had 25 players on the team at
Okay.
any given time. But we played them in the sports around,
The
which is
Jamboree, the Jamboree, the
the
Jamboree.
Jamboree. We played Somerville in the Jamboree. Now we were good, but I said, this would be good practice for our kids. We played a bigger team and everything. We took that ball. I think they punted. Something happened to us. They punted the ball to us. Anyway, we got possession of the ball, and I think we took that ball from our 20-yard line all the way down to the half an inch line. And I think our player said we scored, and we just beat them down the field. I mean, we punished them all the way down the field. So that proved to our kids that no matter who we play, we can be successful. And and
Right.
and and I think instead of getting that right foot spot, we got that left foot spot, which kept us out of the end zone. Because Quentin said that he got an end zone. I said, okay, well, don't worry about it. It's only a jamboree. But that did more
Mhm.
for us, our kids, our community, to know that we could compete with the biggest schools. And that was a satisfying thing. I just shook my head that night and said, I don't believe you guys did what y'all did, and
Yeah.
but we played the biggest schools, but we also played a lot of the smaller schools. We played the Berks, we played the Colossus, we played the Baptist Hills throughout that whole year and everything, and we just dominated everybody that we played.
Yeah. So I just want to ask because I know down in that Charleston area, man. If you didn't, if you from the state of South Carolina, you definitely know who some of your high school were. And so she was down in the area. I said, I wanted to coach play against AJ Green in Somerville. So against that high school period. So and you let me know that you did. So with you marching that ball all the way down the field, then that's remarkable because nobody marches the ball on Somerville back in them days, man. That's
Exactly.
that's really remarkable. So so
Yeah,
so
and
so 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 kudos to you. Kudos to you and those athletes.
was more the players and the coaches. And let me back up here. Um, in any program, you're only as good as number one, the people that you hire, people that work with you, and two, the kids. It wasn't no magic for me and everything. All I did was control the process. But we had some great coaches who were able to believe in what we did because it's hard to believe in what we were doing during that time as far as coaches because everybody wanted to be throwing that ball all over the place. And those
Mhm.
guys came in and they believe in what we were doing and they went out there and to work to make the process work. And that's what you need in a program. So, I know all of the head coaches get all the glory and everything, but it's those guys who you get, and that's why I tell all young coaches hire good.
Right.
And it's not necessarily your friend who's good. You got to hire somebody. Number one is the first thing I look for is do you want to be a head coach? You know, I can help you do that. No, and it's not going to happen overnight. Here are the steps that you got to take. It took me a long time to get to where I am now. through all the bruises and everything. So,
Right.
and then number one, loyal to the program. And notice I didn't say loyal to me, loyal to the program. You could hate my guts, but you come and you treat this program and these players with respect. As men, we'll probably get over our differences,
Yes.
whatever that is. So those were and you come to work every day, and you work every year to improve your craft.
That's
And
right.
and that's what the only thing that we talked about in our meetings and everything. We never argue. We didn't. Number one, miraculously, we liked each other, and number two, we didn't discuss all this other nonsense that's going on out there. The only thing, if it's not for the betterment of the program and for the better for the kids, we didn't discuss it because it only led to arguments,
That's right.
and I don't like to argue.
I can do. I can do.
Well,
I,
well,
I,
Coach, I
I
appreciate
come.
you. Well, Coach,
I
I
was just saying.
appreciate you coming on, giving us your time.
Mhm.
I know you're a busy man, so we just we always honor people, especially somebody with with the years of experience that you have. We learn something new every time we have this show about just life and not just what happens on the field, but how y'all coaches think to get these young men and young women to be productive people after they leave you. So I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people that you coached over the years that use some of the stuff you taught them to actually be productive people in the world. So we commend you. We give you your respect for that alone because we don't have OGs no more. We don't have gentlemen like yourself who can teach these young guys. That's why I guess people call our stuff what we do a sports ministry because we bring people like you to the table and just try to educate these young people the best we know how. So, you know,
Well, I appreciate you having me on. This has been fun. I rarely talk about it. I just observe from afar. Don't get any
Right.
much,
Right.
but I appreciate you guys bringing me on.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And God bless you. And
Mhm.
anything that if you can reach out to us if you got anything going on, whether it's giving back to something or just being a part of something. Like I say, you can call me or whatever. And if you me or Jacob, anything if you want to start your podcast, we do whatever we can to help you. Get
Yeah,
you going.
yeah. Leave me your number, and I definitely give you a call and give me the best time to call you because we're gonna get the Run the Hammer podcast going again, and I have some different ideas from what we were doing before, and I just wanted to bounce it off somebody.
And
Okay, okay,
I'll make sure Coach get your number.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, no problem, no problem. And I'll give you a call, coach, or whatever. Probably sometime next week. Next couple of days, we're gonna be very busy. We actually
I
going
understand.
down to the Classic weekend for the Bethune Cookman game, so we're gonna be out there all weekend. So I give you a call probably like Monday.
That'll be fine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, y'all have a good day, man, and good luck. And you're doing a great job. You're doing a real good
Okay,
Thank you, Coach.
appreciate you, sir.
Appreciate you.
job. Okay, man.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.